work speaks for itself. A couple of my very initial clients, they were pretty clear on what they wanted in business, and I was pretty clear in how I would serve them. And more than what they wanted in business and how I would serve them, it was our personal relationship which built up, which kind of made it sure that we would do anything for them, they would do anything for us.
Correct. Welcome to Networking and Beyond. My name is Lalith and I'm your host for this wonderful show. As a business owner, I run this company called More Than Textbook, where we are a one-stop solution for all of children's communication needs. Today we have with us a very special personality who is one of the most strongest pillars of BNI. He's a trainer in BNI for the MSP program, which he's most known for. He belongs to the Champions chapter and he's been a part of it for over a decade. He served as many roles in the LT table and has also served as the DC in many roles. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this amazing personality where we can pick on his brains and his knowledge of business. Sushil sir, welcome to Networking and Beyond. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
My pleasure to Lalith.
How does it feel to be on a podcast like this, sir?
It's great to be on a podcast like this, especially when the day is so special.
Yes.
It happens to be Sankranti, and that's such a wonderful day to make a good harvest of the time that we have.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of seeds of knowledge will be sown, and especially when we have a senior member like you who's been so experienced in terms of BNI and in business, and I'm waiting to pick your brains on some questions today, sir. Can we begin?
Sure, absolutely, man.
So when I spoke to you over call, I was trying to get some insight on how you've grown in business and BNI, and one of the first things that you told me that you come from a family that was not from Bangalore. You were born in Mumbai, and then you shifted over here. How was the transition for your family, and what were some of the initial stories that you can say when you came to Bangalore?
So my parents came to Bangalore before I was born, and my father started had to restart his career over here. So very small beginnings, very tough beginnings. A lot of support from my uncle's family over here, and those times were really tough because the means were very limited, and slowly a family was happening and they had to set up everything, but both the parents had a right focus, so things fell in place.
That's great. And I think a lot of focus also comes from the fact that your family comes from a strong educational background. And back in the days, not many people were on that journey, right? And through the struggles, what kind of business did your family do, or was it into business?
Yes. Fortunately, my father and my mother both were graduates, and therefore they had a clear focus that education of children is a primary focus. So if I look back, I can make out that they invested all their energies in making this happen, and they struggled hard for it also. Now that we've grown up and we listen to the stories that they went through and reflect back on the childhood days that we had, they never made us feel it. But they worked hard towards ensuring that we were well educated too. One of the best things was there were very innovative ways of educating us. I remember my father would just sit in any bus, and then he would tell the conductor, go to the last stop of this bus. And that's how we explored Bangalore. So that was a real life education. And almost every vacation he would ensure that we went out on some trip or the other. So that was also a real education.
Absolutely, and I truly believe that traveling and reading is one of the best experiences you can have, and it's so nice to see somebody who ingrained something like that from a very young days of your childhood. So, what was your background of your family in terms of professionally? What did your father do? Because for somebody who takes their kid on a journey, they must know some secret, right, about traveling and all these things. how did he get that experience?
Well, if you look back, we are really amazed. Those days we didn't have Google. There were no so many options to travel. But my father would meticulously chart out a journey. He was into business. He joined his uncle, worked there for a couple of years, and then slowly took over from my uncle and ran the business for several years. So those were very tough years. But he would meticulously work out a route plan, and I realized that all of that happened only with a network. If he had one contact in some city somewhere, there was no electronic communication. It would be postcards, and the planning would begin well in advance. We had to stand in a queue to even book railway tickets. So the times were totally different. But in spite of all that, he would plan out trips meticulously. Right up to Delhi, we have had trips. Right up to Calcutta, we've had trips during the vacation. And he would chart out almost a day-to-day plan well in advance.
That's great. Sir, now when somebody who plans so much, I'm also assuming that he had a very busy schedule because of his business, and to plan this out, it takes some time, right?
Well, I guess if you have a passion for everything, you have the time for
You
it.
have the time for everything. Absolutely. So were you passionate about something back in the time when you were in school, college, or how was those times like for you?
I went through a very good schooling at Bishop Cotton's and then college at MES College. And at those times, although studies were important, my parents gave equal importance to extracurricular activities and allowed us to participate wherever we had some skills showing up. So I think that helped a lot. So I was a part of school quizzes and debates. I was a part of some sports representing school. So that was good.
Sir, now gaining that experience, did it help you further in your career in some sort of way? And what did you do in your career after post school and in college?
I'm a commerce graduate from MES College. Getting into MES College also was a wonderful story. It was very difficult. In those days, it was considered to be a very good college. And at that time, whatever we did in school or college, of course, it gave us a degree that was useful. But parallelly, what we did outside school and college was also very, very important. And I think that also played a good role in helping us do what we are doing today, building up friends outside school and college, in the neighborhood, in the community. All that has also worked very well.
Yeah, true, sir. Now, when you've learned so much, what was the direction forward from MES College? Was it something into business because you were a business graduate, or was it into something where it was like, you can say, a conventional family background business or your own startup?
Yeah, that's also very interesting. In those days, learning typewriting would be one of the qualifications anybody would be having. And we used to have typewriter institutes all over the city. One very famous typewriter institute near my house, Udaya Institute, he introduced a computer course. And computers were absolutely new at that time. I was in standard 9 and I learned a summer vacation course in the language BASIC at that time. Somehow I liked that course, I did well. And then when I was doing BCom, I actually underwent a diploma in computers parallelly outside of college.
Okay.
And somehow it happened that computers became my line of career. My father was open enough to say that computers is a new line. It was around 88, around that time, 1988. So if you wish to pursue something in that direction, you could do that. And rest of the family was also very supportive. And therefore, I kicked off into a career in computers rather than joining my father's business.
That's fantastic. What was your first stint, sir? Did you get into any software, hardware? What were you doing?
In those days, learning computers itself was a big thing. So obviously, the place I started off was teaching computers.
Okay.
I worked for a very short stint, 9 months, and I'm grateful for that. I had a few good friends there whom I developed, and from that, then I started my own institute. We started offering courses in computers, teaching computer languages and how to use computers at that time. So that's how it started.
What was the experience like teaching? Did you continue it further, or what was the journey like there?
It so happened that almost every year we would get a project or two to do in computers.
Okay.
People since my father was into business, some of his associates would come up with a request that why don't you write a program for us which will do this? Why don't you write a program for us which will do this? So almost every year we would get a request to write a computer program, and in about 6 or 7 years, in 95, 96, we closed our training part of it, and then we were only doing software. So that's how it happened.
So now once you move from training to software, was the transition easy for you there?
Yeah, it was quite natural. It just happened that our time and energies were more invested in developing software. So the training portion automatically went down.
Okay. So now we've been talking about business. I think, when you speak about business, everybody thinks like for who you are right now, you would have been the same person back then. But I beg to differ, because I know initially in a business, you face a lot of challenges, you face your own types of failures. And then, of course, you find your own ways to surmount that. What were some of the challenges that you faced initially during those days?
Computers was a very expensive field at that time compared to any other line of business. I remember a ET&T PC XT would cost 35,000, 40,000 rupees, and it would have a floppy drive with a 360 kilobyte disk, and the RAM would be 640 kilobytes. That's it. So it was very expensive compared to how we see it today. Also, there was a lot of hype attached to this. The country was opening up, economy was opening up, bright students were going abroad to do jobs. So everybody would, some of the challenges we would face was that, a businessman will say that, I'm not sure if you will continue to stay here or not. You will get a good job offer and you'll go off to the Middle East or the US. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. If I had that chance, I would have done it when I had the chance in college time itself, because at that time also there was an opportunity, and I was very clear I wanted to stay back here. So that was one of the challenge. And when people wanted us to do computer programs, they were not, the businesses were quite unorganized at that time. So for them to make a shift to an organized way of working was also very challenging and difficult. So we could not work with all kinds of business people. We couldn't satisfy all their needs, because we knew this is not a very systematic way of doing things. So these were the three main challenges: high cost, people thinking we will go away, and people not very organized themselves in business. We had the Baniya mentality, which works differently than a very systematic, professional, organized way of working.
Very true. And especially in the 90s, the unorganized sector was even bigger, even larger. Today it's about 60-40. That time I think it was about 80-20 or even less.
I don't know that, but anything you do, taxation laws and all was such that the environment in business was such that businessmen would always try to steal away tax where it was possible, and the mood was different. It's far different now. Yeah.
So what was one of the stepping stones in terms of building awareness with your clientele? Because a lot of clients that you started, catering to, like again we spoke, 90s, not a lot of awareness was there. How did you bridge that gap, sir, building that awareness about computers?
Yeah, so I think what worked best was work speaks for itself. A couple of my very initial clients, they were pretty clear on what they wanted in business, and I was pretty clear in how I would serve them. And more than what they wanted in business and how I would serve them, it was our personal relationship which built up, which kind of made it sure that we would do anything for them, they would do anything for us.
Correct.
So I can clearly remember there were about 3 or 4 such initial customers of mine, with all of whom the relationship went far beyond just being customers. And it was enjoyable to work with them. Work was not work, it was a challenge. What's the next challenge that we are going to do? What's the next challenge we are going to do? Which is helping them in business, which is helping us grow technically. So that was the fun part. And when the people saw the results, they would say, how did you all manage this? How did you all manage this? So my customers would say, look, we work like this and that's how this happened. So that's how the work spoke for itself.
Correct.
So almost I'm thankful that right from a very early age, most of my business actually grew through referrals.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I never had a marketing person per se for a long time in my organization.
That's nice. And that speaks volumes about
Yes.
your quality and how you cater to your customers and their needs and all of this, which is phenomenal. Now, my next question, sir, is that especially in times of the IT sector taking a boom in India, the 90s, where you start having big names like Infosys and all of these guys coming in, I'm pretty sure you would have faced some sort of competition, if I can call it with your permission, in terms of hiring talent, or let's say even making a name for the market. People will always get out these big guns, in comparison.
Yes.
Can you pay like them?
Yes.
Can you give us job security like them? Or can you even give us a promotion like them? How were these some challenges, or how did you get through them?
Those challenges were there then and they are there today. I guess it's a part of the industry. Small companies like ours would always be the stepping stones for people on their career path. However, I've enjoyed a wonderful relationship with all the people who worked with me in the past. Even today, I have good connections with people who worked with me, my colleagues of almost 25, 30 years ago, and right through the way, and right through the years. That was a challenge at that time, definitely. Even today, it's a challenge. Wherever a colleague understands that he wants to work hard and he is not looking only at the money part, I think we have enjoyed working with such teams. Even today, that's the case. And I guess that will remain like that. And not just in my field, it's in any field that's going to be the story.
Yes, true. And adapting is one of the necessary changes that you will have.
Yes.
So, speaking of your business, my main question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about your product? Because I'm a non-IT guy. So, break it up. Can you tell us about your product and what's its USP?
We somehow got several clients who were into the retail shop business. Whether it was a kirana store or a store selling saris or garments, pretty unorganized, with bill, without bill, so many businesses. They would not know how much inventory they are holding. What they declare in the books and what they actually have would always be a huge difference. Since most of my customers were in that area, we gave up all other projects that we had. And we could only work with those customers who said that we are willing to be 100% above board. We would not work with customers who said, you know what, we have these adjustments to make and on a daily basis, we have to do such things. That would be very difficult. That has helped several of my clients actually grow their business. I know of clients who started pretty small and they've been using our software. They were well known at that time also, and today they are a 3-digit crore company still using the software, which means they have grown using the software. Of course, they have worked very hard and to build their business. I know of our clients who have expanded from 5-6 stores to 20-25 stores using the software. And we work mostly with family-run businesses. One of the things that I've always cherished and valued is where I get to interact with the owner themselves, so that we have a good mind share and we work together for a long time, which means family-run businesses. And now family-run businesses are changing. The new generation is coming in. They want to automate. They want to make sure things are done in a good way. So there is a good opportunity over there. So in retail, we're pretty good. And I think the USP that I can say is we have retained most of our clients in retail. We have clients who are 15 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old, such old clients. Okay. So the relationship is far beyond just that of a vendor and a supplier and a customer. I can say most of my new business comes through them. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't be happier.
That's nice. Sir, now your software product, what does it do? Is there a specific function or is there multiple things to your software?
We help automate the inventory pretty well using barcoding. Mm-hmm. In businesses where the products are not already barcoded, for example. We help the storekeeper to analyze what goods are moving, not moving, which he can reorder, keep in stock, how to price them, to ensure that the stocks move on time, to put them on discount and liquidate them on time, to link it to accounts. That's one of the strong points of our software. They don't have to have a separate inventory software and a separate accounting software. It gets seamlessly done. They can manage their customer information at the same time. Loyalty can be integrated together. Even their sales people are there, incentivization for them, etc. They can manage to the software. So several things, and it can, lot of backward integration is there, which we can do into a lot of the processes of a retail store. So these are some of the things that our software helps to do.
Fantastic, sir. Now, I know about your software. I know a bit about your successful clients. Now I want to know who these guys are. Can you give us a bit about your clients?
Yes. My very first successful client, he's not here anymore, but my father bought a LIC policy from him, and he was a Gold Club agent in those days. So that was called Ashok Silks and Saris in Shringa Shopping Center. And unfortunately now that place is also not there. Then we have Mysore Sari Udyog, which is a pretty well-known name in the sari industry. And they've been torchbearers of technology and systematization in their industry. We have worked with clients like GK Vale, who have several stores in the city, Vijayalakshmi Silks and Saris, and several of these clients. We even worked with Coffee Day. Coffee Day had a division called Coffee Day Express, where almost 800 outlets were running on our software across the country for billing simultaneously. And that was also a good project that we had. So several such names we've worked with. These are all in Bangalore. We have some clients in the rest of the South India and Maharashtra also, which have worked well.
That's nice. Sir, now I've understood that you're a very good businessman. I want to know what makes you this good. And one of the feathers in your hat is the feather of BNI. And you've been a BNI member for a very long time now. How did your BNI how did your BNI journey start? And can you tell me a couple of success stories you've had in BNI?
The first statement I'll like to contradict. I won't say I am a very good businessman. There are far many other people around me who are much better business people than I am. I am pretty sure about that.
Like that.
One of the things that happened on the way was I got introduced to BNI again through my very first client, his son Nilesh. He introduced me to BNI through his friend, and this was way back in 2008. I just joined that because on his recommendation, and BNI was very small in Bangalore at that time. Mm-hmm. And that journey was very interesting. It started well. The challenge at that time was, is BNI something like some other multi-level marketing organization and things like that? However, it worked out very well. And today, 12 years later, it's an integral part of almost anything and everything that I do.
Yes.
So that's how it was.
True. And for anybody who knows your BNI story, can only get inspired because, again, when I was talking to you about your referrals and how that has impacted people, you also told me that the BNI was launched in 2 separate cities because of some of your customers and your referrals that happened.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I want to know.
Yeah, one of our very good family friends was, many of the people of the 80s and 90s would know Leo Packers and Movers. Mm-hmm. They were among the leaders of the in the moving business. So they were managed by by a family who had 4 brothers, and one of the brother was Mr. Bharat Shah. And Bharat Shah had introduced computers in his business in 1990, and they were experts in goods movement between Bangalore and Hyderabad. So that relationship with Mr. Bharat Shah later on made him a visitor to BNI Bangalore from Hyderabad, and he took this idea back to Hyderabad, and that's how BNI Hyderabad started. And from BNI Hyderabad, so many other BNI started.
Wow.
So this was, I think, around 2011 or so, when BNI itself in India was very small. There were probably about 4 or 5 other cities where BNI was.
Okay.
And then Hyderabad came in. And even today, in most of the regions of the country, at any event, national event, Bharat Bhai is remembered for his contribution to BNI and how he helped it spread a lot. So that was one of the referral I gave to BNI, which worked well. Another referral that worked well for BNI was one of my client in Kolhapur. They are also into government business, and they were using our software. And my friend over there, Bhavya, she started BNI. She came to Bangalore, she saw BNI and went back and took it over there, and doing it very successfully over there. So just like I have received good referrals from BNI, some of my best clients I've got through BNI referrals. And this way I could give something back to BNI also.
That's great, sir. And I think it gives, it gives us success stories to believe in. And for somebody like me, who's just new into the whole BNI process, I've always been thinking about, where my referral could lead to something special. And I think your stands as a testimony for that.
I think one must not try and do anything with that in mind. We do things because of the correctness of doing that, not keeping the result in mind. We don't know how it will turn out to.
Correct.
But if you feel something is right and something needs to be done, go ahead and do it. Universe will take care of the rest of it. So I never invited Bharat Bhai keeping in mind that he will start BNI over there or whatever, or that 12 years later this would happen. We just keep doing the things which we believe are the right things to do. And if they go into the right places, they will automatically, the universe will take care of bringing the right fruit. We don't even have to worry about that, or don't even have to imagine about that, or what is this going to convert into. Don't worry about that. That's anyway going to happen.
Yeah, believe more in the process and the results will come automatically.
Yes, the intent and the process. Correct. The intent has to be pure and clear and very clean. That's it.
Sir, now speaking about BNI, a lot of people have their own success stories. Now, you've given me in terms of opening chapters, but have you heard of some really nice stories apart from these two, apart from your own, which can be a little bit of an inspirational story or anything that has really inspired you in BNI?
BNI as a system is a wonderful platform, and being a trainer in BNI, every day we come across very inspirational stories. So although the BNI platform's focus is on business, the stories of business and non-business that come from BNI on a daily basis are just outstanding. I think that considering the time that we are in now, and considering the last couple of months that the whole world has been through, here is one platform which never let off even a week and kept the process going on. For all these entrepreneurs who are actually the people who are the breadwinners for a lot of the people they support. So keeping that moral strength up in these times was something that BNI provided, which I believe a lot of entrepreneurs would not have had this kind of system to fall back on if they were not a part of BNI. And I really wonder how they passed through. Because we went through this week on week, and we could see how much of engagement was there on a weekly basis to ensure that help was available to pass through the difficult times. So yes, that is awesome and amazing. So I think that story takes the cream of the cake.
Correct.
Compared to all the other success stories that were there.
Correct. So in that answer, you mentioned that you've seen a lot of stories as being a trainer. And one of the first stints that I met you was when you were the MSP trainer. And I was so happy because I'd never seen a trainer who is so to the point and gets it across that quick and does not need another explanation. So I was really engaged in your training. How did that journey start about? Because BNI in itself was one thing. The training is another one. How did that start?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to be among the early years of BNI when we had the EDs visiting our chapters every week. and we had Mac and Balaji and Murli Srinivasan who would keep coming. So I think one of the meetings I did an education slot on what we call lead versus referrals, which Mac seemed to kind of like. And a couple of weeks later, I had Balaji call me and say that there's a training happening in Mumbai. We would like you to go. Would you like to go? And I just said yes, because I believe that whatever they would do would be for the good or the benefit. And I just accepted. And it so happened that there was an MSP training which was conducted by Dan and Penny Georgievich, who are the authors of the MSP program. So if you're giving credit to me for the content which I delivered, it actually goes to them. They created it and trained us very well on it. And after that, of course, we've done it several times. Yeah, so awesome. That content is really good and very well focused. And it appeals to any BNI member when he or she starts their BNI journey.
Very true. And I must say, it's a very comprehensive job that they've done.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Sir, now that you're a trainer, and I was a training coordinator last time for my BNI chapter, one challenge that I used to find was in a lot of BNI meetings, I think training is the unsung hero somehow. I've spoken to a lot of senior members. I've met a lot of senior members because of training. But somehow amongst the chapter, I feel training is an unsung hero. It's not given enough credit. Why should a member attend training consistently? Why do you think so, sir?
Oh, there are several reasons for that. We all feel that once we've got a degree from college or something, we are done. And now rest of life, everything is going to come from that syllabus. The next day, things start happening outside syllabus.
Correct.
Which means we need to train ourselves again for whatever next comes in life. So school or college was only to get into us a habit of learning all the time, which we need to do lifelong. So that's very important. For an entrepreneur, all the more important. Because he or she is leading his business, leading the people that he supports, leading a family, leading his own growth, personal growth. And there is no way he or she can do that without undergoing training and keeping up to date with what's happening. And BNI provides that platform at no cost, as good as no cost. So somehow in our upbringing, we were probably, we had so much of school and college that we are done with it, and now training feels that, oh my God, and yet another training. But I have seen members who have used this training very well to grow their business very well, who have applied these back in their own businesses and have seen amazing result, have freed up their time, freed up their resources, and are using them usefully. So it's there. An entrepreneur just sees the opportunity and makes use of it. We all have always several choices in front of us. It's about the choice we make. So those of them who usefully made the choice of going to the trainings have benefited from it.
Absolutely.
And that's only for them to experience. So it's there, come and experience.
I like how you kept it into a suspense Pandora's box. But I truly believe when you walk into a training, you don't know how many referrals or how many connections you will leave out of that room. It is quite changing. And I think, especially when the physical trainings were happening, I was one person who was quite, all consistently there for most of the trainings. Sir, moving on. One last question about BNI is that you've been on a lot of leadership roles, right? And when you're in a community of entrepreneurs and you are taking up a leadership role, I'm pretty sure you will have some really life-changing lessons to learn. What are some of these lessons that you've learned from being a leader on the LT table, DC positions?
I think there's one lesson which strikes out, that is humility. We only become more humble.
Correct.
Yeah, that humble from being aware of several things which are happening. First is that you're getting a recognition in a group like this that makes you feel humble. Feeling humble because you get an opportunity to learn a lot at that position and use it for the benefit of others. Humble because you are actually involved in interacting with several people who of very high stature, with whom you never would have imagined you would talk on a one-to-one basis, sit next to them, and so on. I remember in one of our meetings, we had, when I was the president of our chapter, we had Mr. Ashok Soota come in as a visitor. Wherever in my dreams would I imagine that, I would be sitting in a meeting next to Mr. Ashok Soota, and then he would appreciate. And then he mentioned, now I realize how large companies like ours, when he was in Mindtree, running Mindtree, have all their services done, because we had a couple of vendors who were already vendors to Mindtree. And he was so happy about that. So it's always been an humbling experience. So I think that's the one lesson that I get to learn every time.
Correct.
And strengthen every time.
Yes. And I also believe this leadership journey is also a kind of a spiritual journey that you start going through, because once you start becoming a leader, you're not only looking at your success, but also the success of somebody else.
Absolutely.
And expecting nothing in return.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It's a beautiful process. And speaking of spirituality, do you practice spirituality, sir? Or what is the way you practice spirituality?
So I think right through my journey in life, I've been very fortunate that from a very young age, I was exposed to some very, very real, strong spiritual traditions of this country. I was born in a Jain family, and therefore the influence of some of the Jain principles are still very strong today, and I vouch by them because I can see the effectiveness in healthy living through many of those principles. And I also got introduced to something called Vipassana. And I believe that is something that every human being on this earth must take a chance to do. You call it Vipassana, you call it any name, but here is a practical technique to help you to stay in control of yourself. It's not believing anything, it is not reading anything, it is not assuming anything, it is actually getting to do it yourself. That when you are in a tough situation, when you're not in a tough situation, how do you be in control of yourself? How do you take charge of your life? Mm-hmm. And that is an amazing training. The fact that it is available here today and any one of us can do it itself is a great opportunity. And I believe that every single human being, if they are breathing, they must take out a chance and invest 10 days of their lives in learning this technique. Yes. It gives a whole new perspective to the rest of the world and to yourself, your goals in life. Mm-hmm. So that is very much a part of my journey even today, and I'm very happy to be closely associated with it.
Fantastic, sir. And I think spirituality is what takes you a long way through the tough, rough waters of life, and yes, it keeps you going and keeps you grounded to wherever you are. Yes. So through this journey, sir, you've done fantastic now. You've been such a great contributor. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Pretty clear. As long as I need to support my family and so on, till that time, whatever the professional work has to go on will go on, because we need to manage that part of life. But the rest of it will be for our own self. So how much ever time I can give for myself. Human life is very valuable, and there are too many distractions in the world to pull us into all kinds of things, and time will just fly away. So I would like to use it maximum for my own self. So 5 years from now, if I can devote all the time, 24 hours to myself, that would be great. I know it may not happen in 5 years, but whenever.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I think time is one of the most precious commodities, and it's very important for our own self-time. Yes. Thank you so much, Sushil sir, for giving me such an amazing insight into business, into who you are as a person, and your BNI journey, of course, which is very inspiring. Now, moving on to the last segment of this wonderful podcast, which is the rapid fire. Are you ready for that last segment, sir?
Wow, you're making me recall some of my quizzing days. Both as a quizzer, as a quiz master, and as a participant.
Yes. Well, I'm pretty sure you're the master, and we're looking for some really good answers. So first question, what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
Oh, wow. I was born at 4 a.m. That's what I was told. And therefore, the rising of the first ray of the sun motivates me to get up every morning.
Nice. Name another business profession you wouldn't mind getting into.
It would probably be teaching, coaching related.
Fantastic. Yeah. Name 3 business leaders you would want to have a discussion over dinner.
Business leaders. Okay. If in the current times, I would think Shri Ratan Tata is an icon. Narayan Murthy would be an icon. And if I could, maybe probably Jamnalal Bajaj. Of course, he's no more.
Correct.
But the kind of times that they went through and how they managed business and society and the nation's growth at that time might have been awesome.
Fantastic. If you're given $1 million, what would you do with it?
Oh, I think I would invest all of them in education.
Education.
If we educate young people well in the world, I think the rest of the world will take care of itself. Everything else will take care of itself.
Great answer. If you were given a watermelon, what would you do with it?
Oh, going from inside out, sow the seeds, make a nice juice and have it, and give the outer shell to the cows to eat.
Fantastic. Full proper use, is it? Okay, what are some of the most inspirational books or videos that you've come across and you can recommend to our listeners?
I would think the story of my experiments with truth, Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, is something that is very inspirational. Though I have not read the full of it, I have read bits and pieces. And one of the talks I can say is by Sri Satyanarayanji Goenka, what he delivered at the United Nations on what conversion is needed in the human race. I think these two are very inspirational.
Fantastic. If you authored a book, what would it be called?
How did you read my mind? How did you know I'm authoring a book?
Oh, you are.
Okay,
That's great. That's fantastic.
Anyway, it might be called As It Happens.
As It Happens. Interesting. Any reason?
Everything is above or a happening. So, as it happens. We are all spectators. We don't make anything happen.
Nice. That's deep. What is the best advice you've ever got?
Maybe one of the best advices I've got is better to rust out rather than wear out. Better to wear out rather than rust out.
Better to wear out than rust out.
If you're not getting used, you're getting rusted.
Correct.
Better you get yourself used and wear out.
Correct. It's like saying better to fail rather than trying.
Better to fail rather than not try.
Rather than not trying. Okay, the not I missed out.
Yeah.
Okay. If there was one community that you'd be a part of and would suggest somebody else to be a part of, what would that community be? For example, BNI is one such community. Any communities that you...
Yeah, I would think that one should be a part of, like I am a part of a Vipassana group. Mm-hmm. That's very important to get a kind of support you need in any part of your life. Of course, as an entrepreneur, there is no second thoughts, it would be BNI. So I think since I'm into Vipassana, so a person into whichever spiritual line he is, that group gives a lot of strength in times of trying times to keep you going through at a mental level. And of course, BNI.
Yes. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Oh, you'll enjoy the answer to this. Once after a hot beverage, a colleague asked me, was it tea or coffee? And then I was scratching my head. I didn't know it's tea or coffee. So, but I think definitely tea.
Tea, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Indoor or outdoor sports?
I think both. For the mind, you need indoor. For the body, you need outdoor. We are made of both, so we need both.
Okay. I like how you're taking both the sides and both the answers. If you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
Might be geography.
Geography. Any specific reason?
I don't know why, but that was one of my favorite subjects in school. Maybe my teacher was inspiring, or I was good at it, or whatever. So I think it's all about the world and how it is.
That's great, sir. Thank you so much. We come to the end of the rapid fire questions, and it's been a great opportunity to sit with you and have this wonderful personal learning experience with you. And I'm pretty sure the viewers also have an incredible learning experience. So to just put the whole thing into context and pick out 3 takeaways for the viewers. The first takeaway I have is, more than you speaking, your work speaks for itself. Yes. So focus on that work and make sure that you're doing the right thing, and that will itself change over time. That's my first takeaway. My second takeaway is focus on the process and not the result. Because if you don't focus on the process and if you only focus on the result, what happens is that your mind is only occupied, but there is no action that is going on. And last one, as you grow in life and you start getting a lot of achievements as such, the most important thing is to stay humble and grounded, and that is the ultimate challenge. And once you do that, it's the world is yours. Like Steve Jobs says, stay hungry, stay foolish. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sushil sir. And for all the viewers out there, please make sure that you share your comments, you like the video, and definitely do hit the subscribe button for more such amazing episodes. Stay tuned and see you soon.
So thank you so much. It's been lovely to be a part of this podcast along with you. What I love the most about this is that you're creating a medium by which you're allowing transfer of information or transfer of knowledge from one group to a whole lot of other people, which I think is very valuable.
Thank you so much, sir. And that means a lot. It's a great encouragement for me to take this forward. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.